So we're going to all focus in. I'm going to quietly finish off 4 and 5 all the way to the decimal. I'm going to quietly finish 4 and 5 all the way to the decimals, and I'm going to have you guys try to do 6 and 7. Not 7, just 6. Not 7, just 6. Now, to that end, I think I might need a little more room, so let me go ahead and quickly take a picture of these two guys. I think we'll need some more room. So you guys are in your worksheet 9.5. Yeah, what's up? Okay, go quick. What? You need to tell her? Did you just have her for first period?
Yeah. I need to show her something. Or it's like,
Go fast.
Thank you.
I will in just a second. As soon as I get them started. All right. I'm going to do PEMDAS in here, just like we practiced yesterday with number 80 and 78, 79. From the homework in 9.4 at the very, very end. I'm going to do PEMDAS, and then I'm going to simplify going to my calculator. Okay? Number 4 is a little weird because we end up with a square root of 0, which means whether we add or subtract that 0, the answer is the same. Only one solution. Only one solution. Yes, it is Eric. Good job, everybody. Square root of a negative is never going to work. Square root of a negative is never going to work. Square root of 0, one solution. Square root of a negative, no solutions. Oh my goodness, this is sounding like that no solution, one solution, two solution thing. I'm going to go ahead and get Sean and anyone else who was absent yesterday a worksheet from yesterday. I think that's probably what I see hands about. And then the rest of you guys, you're finishing, if you haven't yet, 4 and 5 the way I did, and then you're trying number 6. All on your own from beginning to end. You have the formula at the very top of your worksheet, but also up on the screen. Who is A? Who is B? Who is C? Plug in and try to simplify. And I think you'll be getting actual decimals this time. Anyone who was absent yesterday, coming back to my desk real quick. And I will give you the new worksheet. Wait, Sean wasn't the only one gone. Andrew, weren't you gone yesterday too?
I haven't given one.
Oh, so you're getting 2?
Yeah.
Got it. Sean was gone, Max was gone, Andrew was gone. Everybody else was here. Okay. Feel free to reach out in your group. It's okay, Jeremy. If you need to do something, go over to the trash can and do whatever you need to do, but don't distract my whole class, okay? If you need help, come let me know. Did you bite your lip?
Yeah. I bought like this. I didn't like this.
It's not super bad. It's just kind of going to be a little bit sore.
Thank you.
Adrian, how's it going? Number 6, you're supposed to be doing it, right? You can start by writing negative who?
What's A again? Oh,
Now guys, remember, number 6 is weird because the equation got popped down to the next line. The equation got popped down to the next line, which is why yesterday we took that equation and wrote it in the number 6 spot. Yeah. I think I have one. It'll save you time. Hey, come on. Who's A? Who's B? Who's C?
Soccer game.
Who's A? Who's B? Good. Well, now it's time to put 2 more.
You're right.
Oh, you didn't write your formula?
Hey,
Hey, Everest, can you check your worksheet real quick? Did you write this in the quadratic formula spot at the very top under core concept?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, write the formula. Anybody else? Core concept, quadratic formula. Did you write it yesterday? Here's the big one. If you have a highlighter or a colored pen, did you write the big old quadratic formula underneath the core concept at the top?
I'm writing it.
Because that is the formula that we're plugging into for 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. The quadratic formula. X equals negative b. Plus or minus square root. B squared minus 4ac equal to a. Good. PEMDAS. Really want him to try to catch up today, not be here. So if you're helping him in that, awesome. That'd be a good teammate. If you're not, you're hurting your own team, bud.
What do you need? I'm so happy here. You can go get it back up. Just kidding. Wait, you guys heard it?
I'm just
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I would write the Oh, you're right.
Your ABC.
where?
That's a big number.
Now put it into formula. Where's my ABC?
No, I don't get the
Yeah.
But you can try that. Match up your life.
like the elbow guys.
Oh, you're gonna have to do that essay thing and
That makes sense? Alright, I'm gonna come up and start plugging in. I'm gonna keep walking around in case some of you aren't finding that ABC. Oh, on number 6? Andrew. Okay. Hold on. Is yours on 6? Is yours on 7? Yours is on 6. My 6 question, people, hold on. Let me start it, and then let's see how it measures up. My 7, we're not quite there yet. Hold on. So as we're looking at number 6 really quickly, because those of you guys, I just lost my toolbar. That's a bummer. Those of you guys that were trying, it's cool if you got stuck because that means you were actually trying. So let's see what I would do and how yours measures up. And then let me walk around again. Because those of you that were working on 6, let's see what you got right. Let's see anything you got wrong. And then I'm going to send you forward to number 7 for those of you that did get it right. And I'll walk around the room again. Okay? Danny, what's up? Yes, please. So then as I was looking at this, did you guys get that A was 1, B was 9, C was -10? -10. Okay. Now, when you went to plug into quadratic formula, you're plugging into x equals -b. Gotta put the b in the b spot, right? Plus or minus square root b squared. I could do that mental math because I know 9 squared is 81. Maybe some of you do too. But if you don't know it right away, it's safer just to get it written down and then think about it. B squared minus 4, always 4. A, C. Who is A? Oh yeah, 1. Who is C? Oh yeah, -10. Got it. All over to A. But the name of the game next was to simplify. And PEMDAS was crucial. Because PEMDAS says parentheses, or grouping symbols. Remember when we did 80 and 79 and 78, I said the square root is a grouping symbol. So let's start in that square root. And here's my question. Did you guys realize under the square root that you should have done the squared first? A shortcut, because subtraction and addition are always at the very end, a shortcut is you can kind of multiply 4AC to save yourself some steps. Multiplication goes next, and this is all multiplication. So some of you might like the shortcut of, in your calculators, if you need to, or mental math, what is A times B? 4 times 1 is?
4.
Times C. What's 4 times -10? 40. But since you're subtracting a -40, isn't that going to be addition?
Yep.
And then, wait, I was in the multiplication phase. 2 times 1 is multiplication also. Now, what I'm trying to do is save you some really messy work of having to write for like a new expression for every single thing you do. PEMDAS says exponents. Good, I got it. And then multiply. Okay, hold on. Write the minus down. Multiply it all. It was minus and negative. And then I did any other multiplication. And now it's time to finish my square root expression. Did anybody figure out what 81 plus 40 is?
121.
Hey, wait a minute. 121. That's setting off alarm bells in my head because 121 is what times what? 11 times 11. Isn't that a perfect square?
Yeah, no.
So if you need to see it, couldn't you rewrite it as 11 squared?
Yes.
And what happens when I square root a square? So some of you have memorized that the square root of 121 is 11. Some of you don't, but if you rewrite it and broke it down, hopefully that would help you out. And we end up with, okay, now, here's where maybe some of you got stuck. If you're simplifying, it's perfect. That little plus or minus, like an absolute value, is saying, hold on, you got to see this as a positive and see it as a negative. What's it? the 11 that we found a second ago? It's either a plus or a minus. So once we figure out what that square root is, once we do the work from number 79, 78, 79, 80 from homework 2 nights ago, once we figure out what that is, we say, sweet, -9 plus u over 2, or -9 minus u over 2, and then PEMDAS says, do that numerator and finish. I know it's weird, because some of you are like, divide. No, no, no. We're still in the grouping symbol parenthesis phase of PEMDAS, where we have a numerator separate from a denominator. So up here, it's grouped. In the numerator, what's -9 plus 11? Or 11 minus 9? 2. And what's 2 over 2?
1.
And what's -9 minus 11? And what's -20 over 2? What are my final answers? It wasn't a square root of 0 with only one answer. It wasn't the square root of a negative with no answers. It was the square root of a positive, which gives me 2 answers. Now I'm going to walk around a little bit and try to see if you guys are doing all right with choosing A, B, and C. If you're doing all right with plugging in. And then if you're doing all right with simplifying. So let me go ahead and check in real quick with the couple hands I saw before I started answering this. As the rest of you guys, anyone who is able to keep up, tries number 7. Or maybe even number 7 and 8. Let me zoom out, It's a little bit too zoomed in. There we go. All right, try to plug in number 7 if you were able to get number 6. If you weren't able to get number 6, we'll be ready with the question as I walk around, yeah? Angie, how'd it go? Is there a question? Good.
Bye. Yeah.
I see. So it makes sense now. Diana, how are you? All right, I'm going to open the door. I see you, Armando. I'll get some air in here. I'm walking around the other side of the room that I didn't get to check in on for number 6. There we go. It's coming. Although, you're wearing a sweatshirt. You're going to be one silly boy.
Huh?
Andrew, you're wearing a sweatshirt.
No, I was going to.
Oh, he's the one that's on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Is that okay?
Sometimes for that. And I also checked Alright, Isaiah, Andrew, Caleb, Max, I'm going to come back, and if everyone doesn't have it perfect, I'm going to switch you guys all up around the room. And maybe even make you come up to the board and solve a problem all on your own, because you must be like perfect on it. Well, it's the second or third time that I've tried to talk to you that they need help. So why don't you offer to help them, kind of like you used to help Kayla? Because I think they're goofing off because they don't know what they're doing. Can you go sit back and sit by Max and check in with him and make sure he's tracking? And maybe use your skills productively, okay?
No, I mean,
Follow my simple team and try to put my answer. You can catch up on those other two examples.
Is it? Oh, no, I don't.
Wait. He cracks my sister.
Oh, yeah.
I know he's like. I was just really follow this and then plug it in.
Like every time coming back, this is just being
I don't know. But like, since my mom.
I don't like it.
Joseph, what's that?
Over 6, and then it's going to be 2 over 6. Because you get
Yeah, I see.
7. Because A is 3, not 1.
Jenny, do you have that quadratic formula there? Pause, guys. There's one question I'm hearing a lot as I walk around the room, and it's because you didn't follow a direction at the beginning of class. So can we time out? I love those of you that are helping each other. A little disappointed by some of you that still aren't. But those of you that are, good job. Time out. I see a lot of you that just don't have the formula memorized yet, and you're trying to like kind of follow my work, but you don't realize there's this huge overarching formula that we're using. So on your page, please, at the very top, do you see core concept quadratic formula?
Yes.
Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
What we need to fill in that core concept quadratic formula is the quadratic formula. So I had it written in the notes, but some of you didn't write it on your worksheet. Underneath that quadratic formula, the core concept, get it written down. Now I have it over here, but hold on. Some of you also, it's going to be, or it is, really helpful when I write something else down. There are 2 things that were underlined or boxed in yellow yesterday that some of you didn't realize you should have written down on your paper. So there's standard form, which, hold on. Have any of you guys looked at number 8 yet? It's not in standard form yet. We need to get standard form first, which is why in the table up above, the very first step was getting standard form. Number 8's not ready yet. Not until you move everything to one side and get that 0 like we've done in previous sections. So number 8, hold on, everyone together, number 8, what's the very first thing you should do before you try to find ABC? Add 3 to the other side. So in number 8, everyone needs to add the 3 to the other side to get the standard form. And as soon as you get the standard form, who is A, who is B, who is C, and then here's the formula. So those of you that are like, where's the negative coming from? It's in the formula. The formula says negative b, but some of you were like, wait a minute, what if b is already a negative? It might be helpful for you guys to think of this negative, even though that's the formula. Technically, whenever you multiply anything by a negative, you're really doing the opposite. So negative b, negative a positive, is the opposite, a negative. But negative a negative is the opposite, a positive. So we're doing opposite b. Whatever b is, do the opposite sign. X equals negative b, or opposite b. We get, oh hey, it even works in the sum. X equals opposite b, that works. Plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac. All over. Aw, you didn't do it this time. 2a, thanks. Okay, so where's the negative come from, Jeremy? Do you have your formula written down? Got it. The rest of you guys, do you have your standard form and your formula written down?
Yes.
Okay, now some people are like, oh, this formula's been around for like centuries. Literally. So many math students have to learn it, and they always hate it, and they always forget it. We should come up with this whole brand new way. There are brand new ways to learn the quadratic formula, but here's the struggle. The math that this requires is still going to be just as tricky in the other ways also. And to be honest, all of the students that have gone before you through our math program know of this more than the other brand new ways in the news and whatnot. So we're sticking for right now with this formula just because every math student who has gone before you through an algebra class knows of the quadratic formula. Not all of them know the song, sadly. If they did, it'd be so much easier because they would remember what the formula is. But the hard part is, number one, knowing it, plugging in the right numbers, but then simplifying, which is really just PEMDAS, and practicing radicals some more, which we've been practicing a lot. We're not ready for that. Because we haven't finished 6 and 7 yet. Oh, we did finish 6, right?
Yeah.
We just didn't finish 7. So I'm going to go ahead and check in with you guys and see how you're doing on number 7. But I want you to help me solve the problem. Is your question on number 7, Andrew? Okay, so hold on. Let's start it. All right. Unless you're helping and tutoring someone, which you're doing very quietly, everyone else tune in. I'm going to ask you questions, and I'm just curious if you know the answer. Is number 7 in standard form?
No.
Uh-oh, I heard no's and yeses. Why is it a yes? Oh, 8's not. Good, 8's not. 7 is because what do I see?
0.
A 0. Good. So it's already in standard form. So everybody, on the count of 3, what is A? Hold on. What's A?
3.
Got it. On the count of 3, what's B? On the count of 3, what's C?
-1.
Negative. Now be careful. All those negatives, they need to stay with those numbers, right? Except when I go to plug into my formula, and let me draw a little line. So it's going to get messy. Let me even do a different color so it's not as hard to see. Okay, my people that are tutoring, it's okay, keep going. But otherwise, all talking Armando shouldn't be going on. Hold on. Let's make sure we're all good. But if you're tutoring, just whisper. It's fine. Keep helping. X equals opposite B. What's opposite B?
2.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Now, some of you can think negative B, negative is a positive, but if you just say opposite B, it's easier. Okay, X equals opposite B, plus or minus square root B squared. Now careful, are you putting the -2 in parentheses?
Oh, you got.
Well, because you have to think a negative times a negative is a positive, and without the parentheses, it's kind of illegal.
Oh.
Yeah, so -2 squared, B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Well, because careful, when you're doing B squared minus 4A, who is A? 3C -1. I need to get my A into the A spot, get my C into the C spot. And then I can go ahead and wait, all over 2A. This time A is not 1, this time A is 3. So I need to make sure that I have all my pieces where I need them to go. So I have my X equals opposite B, plus or minus square root. My smartboard is very mad at me, I guess. B squared minus 4, who is A, who is C? All over 2 times who is A. Jeremy, what's up?
I was gonna ask, so every time it's negative, you gotta put parentheses or what?
I do, yeah. because we're trying to show multiplication, and without parentheses, we might accidentally think subtraction. See what I mean? So we're just trying to make it super understandable for us and for anyone looking at our work. Kayla, are you okay? I'm going to check in. Simplifying PEMDAS. Remember, we're looking at the top separately from the bottom. And in the top, we have to get under that square root. And underneath that square root, what do we do first? Multiply the, well, not first though. Technically first we do exponents, right? So what's negative 2 times negative 2?
4.
Minus, now there's different ways of doing this. Some of you are seeing this as a subtraction is adding a negative 4 and you're multiplying with a negative 4. I just kind of do minus and I ignore the minus and I look here and I say, okay, I need to multiply these 3 numbers to get one number. Because I'm allowed to do all the multiplication from left to right. What is 4 times 3? 12. What's 12 times negative 1? Negative 12. But if I'm subtracting a negative, it's the same thing as adding a positive, right? Minus a negative times a negative is a positive, so I'm going to change that to be plus. And then technically I can do the numerator separately because it's its own grouping symbol, and then I can do the denominator separately, which some of you might just write 2 times 3, or some of you might be like, oh, I'm multiplying, I can make that 6. You're right. You're totally right. Now, when I go ahead to, oh, this is another nice one? What's with all these nice ones? Wait a minute, why am I calling this a nice one? What's 4 plus 12? 16. And what's so special about 16? Josephine.
There you go, Max. That's not
What's it? Yeah. Square root of 16 is 4. Now, some of you might need to actually write that out. Oh, yeah, it's 4 squared. Square root of 4 squared is 4. But either way, don't we have to eventually get to 2 separate answers, yeah? 2 plus 4 over 6 and 2 minus 4 over 6. Because plus or minus, it's like the absolute value, but it's written for us in the formula. Do the positive, do the negative. Okay. And then we just have to add. What's 2 plus 4? 6. What's 6 over 6?
1.
Got it. Why are we doing the addition before the division? Because the numerator is grouped together, like a parenthesis. I have to do the numerator first before I can divide. So 6 over 6 is 1. That's 1. And then the other one, what's 2 minus 4? Negative 2, I think, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, and that one would be negative 1/3. Now, technically, can you guys read the directions for me? Are they wanting decimals or if it's a fraction? Okay, so then in our calculators, couldn't we do 1 divided by 3? And if we did 1 divided by 3, help me out. What are we supposed to be rounding to? The tenths or the hundredths? Well, hundredths is usually, I think this one says tenths. So then we'll go ahead and say, all right, we'll follow directions, whatever they may be. So it's going to be 0.10ths mean just 1 decimal place. If we're going to our calculator, okay, fine. And your calculator would have gotten 0.33333333, so we round. And technically, guys, on this A side, I think we only have one more problem left, right?
Yeah.
And didn't we all kind of start it because you should have moved that 3 already?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you one last chance. After all the examples that we did yesterday, the simplifying that you've seen me now do twice, can you try to rock number 8? Take it away. Move that 3, and then who is A? Who is C? Can you, maybe, are you starting to memorize this formula too?
Yeah.
No.
I got it.
You gotta get you to keep seeing the sun. Maybe start somewhere.
Oh, I was asking yesterday. Wait, so we keep the X.
No, you realize this eventually will be a
So do we keep the X's like yeah, A's and B's?
No.
Did I copy that?
And then the A, I mean the A's kind of.
And this one's like off. Oh, okay, because I didn't really see that.
Oh, right. See? Ooh, here, just see.
My class. I already said this. Oh, yeah. England squared.
Start plugging in. Very good. You were. Our brains sometimes like stop. Including trying not to get this one. Double check that I have number 8, right guys? Because I think I didn't get it written down in notes. Is it negative 5x squared plus 9x equals negative 3? Is that right? Good, but we had to add the 3. Because some of you are ready for me to go ahead and let you check whether or not you're right. You ready for me to start throwing it in?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give one second. X equals I'm not going to do it all right now. I'm just going to see if you guys plugged into your formula right. B squared minus 4a. I'm going to pause, double check you're plugging in, because if that went wrong, everything else might go a little wrong too.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Turn my rotator.
Oh my god.
Jeremy.
And then for the last 5 minutes, for the last 5 minutes, we've been trying to plug in everything and keep that side. I'm even more sad here.
Who's second? Who's second? Ella. Ella, no. Ella. Ella's scared. Ella's still second. Ella's still second. I'm gonna show you.
Okay, no, I thought that too.
Yeah, she actually.
Yeah, I thought that you was actually did that once.
Oh, you are.
I also stopped the whole class.
I think it makes so much. You're not and then Jeremy. Are you strong?
It doesn't go down.
Isaiah.
No. Especially since we have 5 minutes talking.
Goes down.
She was helping us. I'm kind of helping him.
Now, thanks for helping them out. Are you checking in on the
How do you know? And then just school like.
Alright, hold on. I see a lot of you helping each other on the tricky formula, so let's see how we've been able to do to finish. Yeah? Alright, let's quiet down. Kiddos, I know. Today got a little bit weird because there was a lot of talking, and I was actually letting you talk because I was really hoping what was happening back there with Andrew and Armando and Melanie behind and Isaiah back with Max and Levi with his entire group. I was really hoping that you guys could help each other as far as finding each other's mistake of, oh, you just forgot to do this, or oh, let me show you, this is what I did. Because this is a tricky formula, okay? Let's get our number 8 down because, hold on, pause. Can you guys flip the worksheet? What were we actually supposed to do today? The back. Let's finish the front. We'll just introduce the back. Let's finish the front because this is a tricky formula, and so most of you guys are going to make mistakes in it every now and then. But if you work through it in class first, at least you have an idea of where you're supposed to be heading and hopefully slowing down enough to figure out the legal steps and the legal way to simplify. Hopefully you guys are all getting 81 because you knew to do the squared first. And then hopefully you were doing a big old multiplication of 4 times -5, -20, times, wait a minute, who was my AC? Oh, that's 3. Actually, I think maybe I wrote the wrong number down. That might have been my bad. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 3 is -60. Yeah. 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 times 5 is 60, but I would have gone in order. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. I think we might have mixed our numbers up, Brooks. That's why that one went weird. So we have got -60 all over 2a, which I can multiply. We end up with a minus and negative, which is really adding. And then, Sunny, you were totally right in the sense of it is a nasty square root of 141. I think I figured out what you did. I think you did that to be 12, and then he disagreed. But 12 times 5 is 60. There we go. Now, here's the struggle, guys. That's not a nice number, right? So we would have to go to our calculator because it says to give a decimal. Isaiah, you were asking me this a second ago. we would actually need to get that square root of 141 as a decimal to then be able to add and subtract that number. Now, did anybody actually get that decimal for square root of 141? Nice. So I'm going to actually just put it in now because I think it'll make it a little bit easier on my head to finish. So the nice thing is, you guys have seen, what if there's a 0 in the square root? One answer. What if there's a negative in a square root? Just stop. No solution. What if it's a nice square root? Well, it's going to be nice numbers. But what if it's a messy square root? Whatever. They're going to be decimals. So tonight, I doubt most of you were able to totally finish 3 through 17 because I could tell today that a lot of us didn't come in being able to plug into the formula. My question is, can you plug into the formula now? I think so. Come tomorrow with numbers 3 through 17, not just the chart then, but also the plugging into the formula, and come with ones that you got stuck on. And tomorrow we'll do 9.5, the back side. Anybody who didn't take the quiz? Anybody who didn't take the quiz from last week, you're going to have to take it tomorrow unless you come in. No new quiz tomorrow. I canceled it. No new quiz tomorrow.
Round 2.
Yeah, I didn't.
Your plug-in was good, just the wrong number. That way we can